Today on Mob Rules,
we talk about Primaris.
Oh,
wait, where's Phil?
That's right. There's no Phil.
Oh.
There's no Phil.
Okay.
We talk a little bit about hobby hangovers.
Ooh. All that and
not much else, really. Yeah. On episode 57 of
Mob Rules.
Ever.
So lonely in here.
I know. Welcome to Mob Rules, episode 57. 57.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting way better at remembering what number we're on.
I just updated the website 2 days ago, so
Oh,
it's fresh in my mind. Like, oh, look. Actually, I hadn't updated since episode 53.
You know how I remembered about the website?
Oh, what's that?
It hit my PayPal, and I'm like...
Oh, did it?
And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. We have a website, mobrulesmedia.com.
Yeah.
Please.
How often is that? Is that every year? Or every month?
It's just once a year.
Oh, okay.
And it's not terrible.
All right.
I mean, hell, it's like 2017. The cost of a website's like...
Wait a second. I
6
thought I was
cups of
paying
coffee.
for it.
No? Well, in the end, we all pay for it.
Well, no. I mean, I think that like it hit my... Because I wonder like if it didn't hit... They're charging you and me.
Well, I got $30 from GoDaddy, so unless I'm running like a secret porn site.
Oh, that's what it is. I signed us up for a secret porn site.
Oh, okay, good. Bridesoftheemperor.com. I am,
all work porn all the time.
but they're asexual.
Shut up.
That's so
Yeah.
they're just rubbing stubs.
It's a bunch of mushrooms.
I am John.
Hi, John.
Joined as always by
Ted.
and that's it. I
That's
mean,
all.
there's so much more room for activities now.
It's kind of nice.
Phil is road tripping Indiana
Yeah.
Jones map style through the lower 48.
I miss Indiana Jones maps.
Oh my god, it's such a good narrative device. Holy
We
cow!
just watched the third one, I think, a few days ago. And
You mean the second one? No, okay.
but yeah, we were going through that, and it was like I don't know, like just like looking at like the way they time things and like the silly maps and stuff like that. You just don't see that these days.
No, it's
It's like Disney-esque cartoons.
everyone's way to. Oh, speaking of which, you need to watch via YouTube the first 2 episodes of the new DuckTales.
Oh shit!
And it was amazing. There was references to Darkwing Duck and Tailspin.
They brought it back.
It was all kinds of good
Retro world right now.
retro world.
I'm okay
And
with
David Tennant is Scrooge McDuck, which makes it even better. Doctor Who
Oh, okay.
is yeah.
I never actually watched an episode of Doctor Who ever.
Oh my god,
We have a Doctor Who spork. I've never seen the show.
Did you get that at a swap meet?
Or
Is it Luke Crate? Okay, so we went. I went with my buddy Nate to a swap meet for Bosco's, and like our local comic shop has them like once a month. And like looking around, I'm just like, holy shit! And it's like, what? I'm like, this is literally where old Loot Crates go to die, because every single table was like Loot Crate exclusives.
Oh,
like the Doctor Who spork or random mug or like these socks, and I'm like. And it's like, oh man, something like Loot Crate is like such a great idea, but then you get your box and you're like, there's one thing out of 6 that you really want, another 5 go somewhere to die.
I ended up giving them to the kids. Like they were excited about like no matter what it was. They were like,
I did the same thing.
Cufflinks, awesome! Like you don't even have anything to put cufflinks on.
I got the wrestling crate they put out for about 5 months before I gave up on it, because I'm like, I don't want to anymore. But like my kid was stoked to get socks, like wrestling socks. So I'm like, all right. But anyway,
cool, bro.
Warhammer.
Yeah, I did see that bringing it around, Spiky Bits has like a Loot Crate kind of a thing.
Yeah, for their Patreon or something like that. You sign up and you get
it ends up being to where like you do pay for it actually, so it's
in ad revenue.
Yeah, well that too. But I think like it's like you pay $30 a month for free, $30 for the product kind of thing. So like I'll just go buy it.
It's in block capitals, so it must be better.
I haven't seen any ads for it in a bit, so I don't know. But hey, I think it's cool. It's a neat idea, and if it works out. Like if they can start getting discounts on it, that'd be awesome.
You know what? As long as if it helps people do what they love, then that's the important non-salty version of what should happen, because everyone should be able to do that.
Support these little things, and eventually it becomes an amazing thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
To find out more, click here.
So I usually tell my girlfriends that. Promote these little things.
So,
sorry.
Swole. So, Ted, what have you been up to in the world of 40K?
Oh, God. I played a game with these 2 nerds a while ago.
Yeah.
And, I think, like, right after I played a game with another nerd, But yeah, I think it's been like a lot of. I put together like 3 repulsors or 2 repulsors, and then most
I saw
of
that up
another
on
one.
the Mob Rules Media YouTube channel.
So I put it on the YouTube, and I like kind of did like a review of it.
Yeah.
And I think like somebody had pointed out that like there's a line like like the side and the top don't quite go together.
No,
really
they
nicely.
do not.
And I kind of speculated like as to why, and I put together 3 of these. So at some point, like I really should have just like slowed down and be like, all right, Ted, hold down, like figure it out. Why is that problem there?
That does not sound like you though.
Right? Like, no, we'll just hit it with a big stick until like, it works.
2 to go.
All right, we'll just green stuff it later, maybe. But yeah, somebody had pointed that out on YouTube in the comments that they saw in other people's that they had the same problem. And he was like, "I'm about to put together one, so what can I do?" And I was like, well, speculating. There's this little like the grav array that kind of looks like a toboggan.
Yeah.
On each side, I was like, it looks like it spooges up a little bit on the top where it kind of curls back. If you, I bet if you shave that down. And use even more rubber bands. Like I was instantly reminded of your Facebook image of like the 30 rubber bands.
And I put on Twitter because it's like, man, it's a great kit, but it suffers like the same issues all Space Marine vehicles do, which is like that very front portion doesn't line up quite, and it's like so close. And I'm like, oh my god!
But just force it,
just like that little divot at the front, you have to force and rubber band. And I'm like, oh, I miss Space Marine.
So
vehicles.
I asked him to like, he was like, okay, I'll try that. And then I think the next day he posted a picture, and actually he bought like a big box worth of multicolored rubber bands. So it was like this Rainbow Warrior like repressor, but he basically it was kind of like it was almost the exact same images you put up, except colorful. But he said that I think he did trim like that toboggan.
Yeah,
and he did like the multiple rubber bands. He's like, no, it's perfect now. So I guess there is that like,
and it works really well. I mean, I know I built mine. I left the side, the grav plates off.
That's smart. I'm doing that too with the third one
because like
actually per your suggestion.
My scheme like the orange is so light, and I do like the yellowy orange all in one step, and to be really pissed off to have to go back and touch up areas because it doesn't look good when I touch up afterwards, and I get to the point where I'm like, fuck it, I'm done, I don't care, it looks good. Sorry, I left those off there.
No, that's all right, man. I think like you play all these like first person shooters, and there's usually like the what is it, like there's like that what do they call that, and it's like a calming agent that you're supposed to like pop in the video game so that you could snipe without like if they had that for painting, I think that'd be really nice. All right, I'm gonna do detail work, I'm gonna pop this calm pill.
Oh man, can you imagine GW like starting to get into the pharmaceutical market?
It's only time.
It's not ADD medicine, it's painting steady handness.
Yes. That'd be great.
But yeah, we played a team game against Phil last week.
Stupid ironical fist.
Man, the ironical fist. I love that. Someone on and that was on our Twitch channel, the twitch.tv/.
Was that John? Justin?
Someone. I think it was Justin. Said it was ironical fists, the Iron Hands and Imperial Fist together. Which I'm like, yes, that is great. Even though I don't technically have Imperial Fists anymore.
What are you going with it? A successor chapter?
I'm going for a successor chapter.
What are you going to call it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Something about sons,
the ironical
or something
fist?
like that.
Okay. The fisting
sons of Dorn. Or
well,
something
you just bought
like
all
that.
those fist icons.
Oh, they're still gonna have them all. But if someone else gives me shit about like, hey, your stuff's orange, I'm like, well, I happen to like burnt yellow. Then there'll be a successor chapter.
Oh, okay. Has anybody complained yet?
Like a couple people came up and be like, that's more orange than yellow. And the thing is, like, because yellow you have to kind of highlight and low light or underlight or whatever the hell it is. If you low light too much, it does look orange. And like I kind of like how that ended up looking.
Okay.
And I have a really simple system for getting it to where I want it to be, so I keep doing it. So I'm like, well, I could go and repaint 4,000 points of Imperial Fists.
As well you should.
Or I can just say there is a successor chapter.
Okay.
Whatever. Move on. My usual standard levels of care. Like, it's just a successor chapter. But yeah, so we had that team game. It was like 3,000 points. It was a blast. I found out afterwards.
Phil cheated.
I got tons of rules wrong.
Oh, did you?
Oh my god! So the warlord traits that I chose, where it was an extra negative to the armor save within 6 inches of my warlord, is only on to wound rolls of 6 and not passive all the time. So I'm like,
is that why we won?
Spoilers. The video was up on our YouTube channel, but we lost.
Well, we haven't got any negative comments about it yet. So
No,
I think nobody's mentioned that unless they did it on
Nobody's
Twitter.
mentioned it.
Okay, so it's not true. Like you actually got it right.
Well, and also
Don't out yourself.
in my intro to the battle report, I did put on there that I did get these rules wrong.
Yeah.
I found out later because I went to a tournament afterwards, the week after or the Saturday of, and I was like, I'm going to choose my warrior trait, and it's going to do this, and my buddy Sterling was like, yeah, that's not what that does. Like, thankfully, it was before any game started, but I got corrected pretty hardcore in that one.
I'm not going to take that one then.
Oh no, I still took it. It's still amazing.
Oh, okay.
Because oh my
god,
god,
a lot of dice. So.
Oh yeah, so much dice, and I've improved my list since. But you said, did you play another game, Ted? Or
I think the night before. So I think like while I was trying to put together, I wasn't even trying to put together. I should have been putting together a list for our game. I was putting together a list for the other one, and excuse me. I was playing against my buddy Tyson, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I haven't played any games yet," and so like, "Oh okay, cool. I don't have to. Yeah, I'm not even gonna really. I'll put together a list. It'll be just kind of funsies." And then he just like stomps the shit out of me. And he's like, "Yeah, I played a game the other day," and then he starts like telling me others. I guess he used to like him and Danny used to do like the team tournaments, and I didn't really think about that. And like, oh wait, if you're hanging out with Danny and Danny always wins tournaments, then chances are some of that rubbed off on you, and you might be a strategic genius by osmosis.
And Danny places pretty high, admittedly. Yeah.
So like later on, I felt like I was skunked. No, not really, but so I think, but he played a Deathwing, and it was, I think he had like 4 dreadnoughts or 5 dreadnoughts.
Nice, like the cut of his jib.
Yeah, and then man, I thought I was like all into some secret science. Like when I discovered dreadnoughts in 8th, I was like, oh yeah, nobody else is using dreadnoughts. This is
No, I saw your list you did like for that 8th tournament. I'm like, oh man, that looks fun as shit. And also because I'm like streaming tournaments now on the Saturdays. Yeah. I'm like, I need minimum model lists. So like I can be like the first 5 minutes of a round, I'm setting up a stream somewhere else, and I come back to the middle. Okay, this is my like 12 models here.
Yeah. It does feel bad, like as an orc player, like somebody puts down a dreadnought, and I'm like, all right, 30 boys, they're a dreadnought, 30 boys, and I think like I'm always the last one to put the last like unit down. So it's, I'm gonna go last again. All right, you'll go first. So I lost that one, needless to say. Yes. But I think it was like him deep striking or not deep striking. Yeah, whatever not deep striking is now, teleporting, I guess.
I really like that in the book, kind of like an aside, how it's like you can choose to set up in a teleport pad. You choose to like start on a Valkyrie. Like,
the
like,
fluff about it,
not just deep strike. Way better than you're deep striking.
So he drops in, and then I think like now that Stormbolters are rapid fire too.
So good.
Oh, seriously,
so good.
He comes down with like these 2 10-man Deathwing units. And just like, there goes most of a unit.
And that's 8,000 dice.
It's ridiculous. So he comes down in rapid fire range, like with 2 units. So what is that?
80 dice.
80? Yeah, 80 plus cyclones plus assault cannons. So, like, oh man. And assault cannon's now 6 shots. So it was ripping it up. And then, my Storm Boy's like, yeah, I'm going to take. Okay, so the blood of the Storm Boys hit your unit.
It made the ground slippery, so when you charged in, it was a more successful charge.
That was it.
Or a failed charge because they slipped on blood, like a banana peel.
So I think like Terminators, I'm pretty impressed.
They're so good. They're so good.
4 shots is. Oh. But then we played our game.
We did.
Yeah, that was. I think I definitely didn't play to the objectives.
We definitely did not. No,
we're like, let's just kill stuff.
And that's like, okay. So I've started getting better at playing competitive setting because I have started playing to the objectives.
Good.
But like, I'm with you where I'm like, I want to kill everything, kill it all, burn it to the ground. You can't win if you have no models left. And then it's just like, and I just won because I did it to the objectives. Like, but all your stuff's dead.
Well, I think like part of it was like I get kind of I start throwing like risks. I play a lot of risks.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, that's one lone biker, not a big deal. Like it'll be taken care of at some point. And then like not create a plan to take care of it while I'm trying to do like maximum damage, like.
And then it takes care of 2/3 of the objective.
Right. Literally. Like that one guy wins in the game like twice over. So
I will say 3,000 points. We had pretty small armies. I had nothing but dreadnoughts pretty much. You had Imperial Knight, a Typhon.
Yeah.
All these giant things.
Typhon was so good.
Phil took 21 las cannons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was hilarious because I think like when we were first talking about putting together a list, I remember you were saying, you had like your dread list, but you'd also like talked about it between like you, Phil, and I. And then so when it was time to like make our list, you're like, "Hey, dreadnoughts!" Like this really emphatic, like dreadnoughts. Like that's the only word in the.
And then you were like 500 tactical Marines.
I was like, well, I could either do lots of tactical Marines or lots of dreadnoughts. And then we were like, okay, all right, we'll do lots of dreadnoughts. And he's like, then Phil's like out of the blue, like, hey, so you guys gonna do all dreadnoughts? And they're like, abort! He knows our plan.
I still think it would have been hilarious to take like. What did we work it out being? Like
I didn't actually make my list.
I could take like 100 tactical Marines for 1,300 points.
Oh wow!
So it would be like 130 tactical Marines.
Oh jeez!
So we could have fielded like 260.
Do you have that many tactical Marines?
I have like 80.
Oh okay.
So
there.
So no.
Right.
but
so,
close.
80 plus a few dreadnoughts.
Yes. But yeah, I played that game as well. And then I also played on our local ITC tournament. And I ran kind of a variation of that list.
Oh okay. How'd that go?
It went pretty good. I ended up like 7th.
What'd you do differently?
So I
added stuff. Okay.
I added stuff. So I added.
Finish all your sentences. How's that working for you?
Finish all my sandwiches. So my 2,000 point list is I had a captain in cataphracti armor.
Okay.
It was 2 vanguard detachments, so it was like 5 command points total. But the captain in cataphracti armor, I had 3 relic contemptor dreadnoughts.
So good.
So good. There's
and they
no
get
reason
to feel
not.
no pain, right?
Yep. So
For
they
free.
get the 6 up. Well, it's 40 points more than a regular contemptor.
Is it? I don't...
Yeah, because a regular contemptor is like 100 or something like that, and the relic is 140. But with that, the movement of 9 does not change as you get damaged.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So it's super good. So I had like a punch contemptor with 2 fists. I had a melta-gun power fist contemptor. I had a double Karis contemptor. I had a venerable dreadnought with a las cannon.
Okay.
And then I had 2 of the repulsor dreads.
Threw a repulsor on a dreadnought chassis.
2 redemptor dreads.
Okay.
I had a 5-man cataphracti terminator squad with chain fists and a 5-man assault terminator squad with thunderhammer and storm shields.
How do they do?
And a tech marine and a Primaris lieutenant.
Oh, okay.
I went 2-1 for the day, so I did pretty good.
bad.
I got handed pretty hard the first round. I was outranged. A butcher cannon Leviathan dreadnought, which is like 36-inch range. All of the shots, like 20, 30 shots or something stupid like that, and each of them is like damage 2.
When you say butcher cannon, you're talking like the frag storm, not the storm something or other with like all the guns. It's like a bunch of assault or auto cannons.
No, it's like a special chaos weapon for their Leviathan dreadnought, but tons of damage 2. So like stuff was dropping.
Hammer.
Yeah, and then there was like 4 las cannons kind of lined up as well. So I'm like, yeah. I deployed 2 defensively when I should have just been super aggressive with it.
So you bought a Leviathan, I see.
So I did buy a Leviathan.
Good man.
And then the second game I played against Imperial Guard list with a Stormblade or like one of the Baneblade variants. And then Yarrick and some veterans and a Wyvern and a tank commander and a couple other tanks.
Good.
And he had some scions that he dropped down. So I'm like, shit, because Melta Squad scions are like terrible for my army because it's all.
Oh yeah.
But so he dropped down like 4 melta guns on my back line, turn 1, and did 2 wounds to a 1 dreadnought.
Oh.
So I'm like,
well done.
That probably shouldn't have happened, but
we'll take advantage of it.
So yeah, my Karis just kind of like went and turned around, and he was like, you know, you don't have to turn the model to fire at him. I'm like, I like it this way.
It's a visual game.
Yeah. So I ended up tabling him on that one. And that's when I was just like, if I just run my relic contemptors up the board, there's very little that can stop something that's moving 9 to 15 inches a turn, and just putting out that kind of firepower. And then in game 3, I played a young kid who just started with Chaos. And it was just kind of, he had a good attitude. It was a good game.
Yay!
But it was baby seal time.
Okay.
So you know, it's kind of like, I feel really bad.
So you walk him through his demise.
Yeah.
Okay.
you know, when he got to the unfortunate, he was, okay, turn 5, and I'm like, okay, you have 1 unit left. They can't actually move in range of any of the objectives. I was like, it's been a blast, but you know, like let's call it here. But it was a lot of fun. What I learned is, as much as I love the Redemptor Dreadnought, and I do love it, it's a fantastic model.
20 of them is not an army.
2 of them is too much.
Really?
And I think one of them would be okay. My issue with it is there's no invulnerable save.
Okay.
So anytime I'm shot with the last cannon, which because it's big and imposing, it's gonna get shot. I'm saving on 6s. It's only toughness 7, so last cannons are wounding on 3s. You know, a lot of stuff is wounding on 3s, or even 5s. It really need to be toughness 8, I feel. And then because it's the ballistic skill is like 3+, if I move, then I'm hitting on 4s.
Yeah. I think Contemptors are the where it's at.
So
they're faster, they hit better, the invulnerable saves, they're cheaper.
I got a new list.
All Contemptors all the time.
Point. So I kept all of my relic Contemptors. I took out the two Redemptors, and I added a relic Leviathan Dreadnought.
Oh, okay. And it gets the 5+ invulnerable, right? Or 4+?
It has a 4-up invulnerable.
Oh shit!
It's
nice.
weapon ballistic skill 2+.
Okay.
And I bought with it 2 storm cannon arrays, which are strength 7, 10 shot, heavy weapons, 2 damage each.
Oh, okay. So you got 2 of those, so 20 shots.
20 shots.
Fuck.
If all of those hit an all win, that's lots. So it's kind of it's a little less output than the 2 Redemptors would be, but it's going to hit harder. More reliably. Yeah. It's going to hit harder, and that 4-up invulnerable is going to help way more. Down the road. So I got one of those on the way.
Nice.
To balance that out, because it's a relic, and we have those wonderful relic rules.
Yeah.
Where you can't have more relics in slot than regulars. I had to add a predator because it's a heavy support choice.
Oh, okay.
So I added a predator in there, and then because that drops me down in my elite slots, I couldn't take all of my relic Contemptors, so I had to drop my tech marine and add in an honor guard squad of 2 Marines for 40 points to just fill up a slot.
This is my placeholder unit.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you coming along? 2 Marines. We have to come so this Redemptor, or so this Contemptor with the 2 power fists can come. But I'm excited about it. Like I said, I think it's going to play really well. Like game 3, I think my favorite thing I did tactical wise is like I set up my big dread bomb. Apart from one venerable dread, like poor little venerable dread, I set on the other side of the table away by himself. And like I was sure to go to my opponent. I'm like, okay, he has 2 las cannons. He hits on a 2+. He has a 6-up, feel no pain. Just to let you know that guy over there, and he can see all of your guys from that side of the table. When I'm like, please shoot him with everything you have, so you can leave my big dread bomb alone.
Did they?
They did. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's good.
He died turn 1.
Oh,
he died so others could live.
Yeah. Aww.
And yeah, those last 2 games, my dice were so hot.
So what do you think about the Ironclad? Think I Ironclad at some point? Do you have an Ironclad?
I don't have an Ironclad yet, so I think I might get one just because.
You should. They're slow, but when they hit stuff, it dies real crumply.
And see, that's my issue. I mean, what does the Ironclad have?
So it's toughness 8 versus So and I think it has. It's just I think it's 7 wounds or 8 wounds or whatever a regular dreadnought is. But it has the seismic hammer and the other thing, and I think you could upgrade one of them or whatever. So you get a +1. I think it's like the only one where you get the dreadnought close combat weapon gives you an extra attack, so you get 1 extra attack.
Yeah.
And I think it's like. The damage, it's 12 damage, or it's strength 12 or 16 or some ridiculous thing. And then, but when it hits, I think it's like 6 wounds straight up. It's either 5 or 6 wounds.
So my punch Contemptor, with the 2 close combat weapons, re-rolls to hit rolls of 1 because it has 2 things.
That's nice.
It's weapon skill 2+. So generally all 4 are hitting.
Yeah.
It hits at strength 14.
Okay.
And it does 3 damage each.
Okay.
So it's reliably doing, 6 to 12 wounds a turn. For the only problem is it's like 212 points or something, like 220. Or it's up there. But yeah, definitely. I love the look of the model, just kind of like the ribbed kind of upper chassis portion
of
the one you were talking about there, the Ironclad Dread. And doesn't it have like the weird launchers or something on its back as well?
Yeah, you get I think like that's a cool thing too. Is like the frag launchers, and so far the frag launchers are free. It is kind of expensive. I think, like, for all in all, I think it's like roughly 200 points, which is a lot more than a contemptor. But yeah, I mean, you throw in there, you earn like, was it D3 or D6 mortal wounds?
Yeah,
when you assault, that's pretty gross. But I mean, I've run up and like hit. Well, that first game, if you saw, you ran up and hit a Land Raider, like, oh, all but one wound. All right, you shoot it, boonk, dead.
Which like this
of
tournament,
course, that doesn't happen all the time. That was a really lucky roll.
Like this tournament, I was determined to do because like the last tournament I went to, I just took kind of I took the Redemptors and I didn't really take much heavy firepower elsewhere. And like Land Raider's like, dude, I'm just gonna walk up the table, and I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I don't have anything to answer that. So now everything is gonna answer. Oh yeah, I'm looking at the Ironclad now. Looking at that underslung like drill fist piece.
Yeah, I don't think I. Never mind. I did use.
It looks pretty rad as hell.
Yeah,
it does look like mining equipment though.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of like the fluff behind it. It's a siege weapon, so it's supposed to go in there and like mulch walls and stuff like that. So it does kind of have that drill kind of feel.
Yeah,
that's the idea. So I think that is considered called the siege drill. And then there's another one that's a siege hammer. But I think like with mine, like I end up taking the hammer off the Grey Knight or the baby walker.
Oh, the Dreadnought. Yeah.
So he's swinging a big hammer. So there's some different things you can do with it.
Yeah, there's still some dreads to add. Like I said, I have Leviathan on the way.
Oh, okay.
I still have an Ironclad. I guess I have to add now.
You gonna do the scuba dread?
Which one's the scuba dread again?
The Derridia.
Oh. I had one. I traded him for like.
I remember that. Yeah.
I might. I mean, right now, like they FAQ'd his rules, so he wasn't as good. Like he was over the top good before. And
really?
Now they FAQ'd him, so like. He puts out like a protective shield.
Yeah.
But they FAQ'd it so the unit has to wholly be within 6
inches.
inches.
Oh, that's right. That's ridiculous.
So that's not going to happen very often.
Yeah, so you got to like slowly kill off your guys like on the outside.
You're like, yes, the unit's fully within 6 now. But there's one guy left.
Yeah, let me in. Let me in. No.
But no, I think, and I've kind of worked at that, whereas like that's going to be the fluff for my little Sons of Dorne chapter, is that it's all company veterans, and know,
considering the Imperial Fist die in droves, they're going to have lots of dreadnoughts, right? So.
The keeping it fully stocked. I'm sure they stock other chapters with dreadnought capable bodies.
Sure.
There was one of our listeners sent us a wonderful piece of fan art.
Oh yeah,
of the dreadnought kind of walking along. And just the volume knob being taped to the opposite position, kind of like a thermostat in summer.
That's great.
Which was fantastic and made me laugh. And I would have captioned it if I could think of clever captions to go with it. But sometimes I'm just not very...
It was well captioned enough.
It was well captioned enough with nothing there. But yeah, that was my week. So yeah, I started painting a Predator. I started painting my punchy Redemptor. I started. Yeah. Oh, I converted a chapter master.
Really? What'd you do?
A captain. I took the Black Reach captain. I cut the sword off at the hilt.
Okay.
I took 2 chain swords from the Burning at Prospero box.
Okay.
Kind of cut them together to give it a longer chainsword.
Yeah.
And just added it on to the captain because my captain has like a chainsword and a storm bolter.
Okay.
So no, or a regular bolter that I'm going to say is a storm bolter. But like I held up, like I put a regular chainsword in his arm and it just looked really not imposing enough. So I kind of extended it a little bit there.
Okay.
And yeah, so I got him mostly painted to tabletop. And ready to go because, like I said, the goal is just kind of have everything at least 3 colored before it hits the table.
That's probably a good idea.
And now that I have my big old Leviathan Dread on the way from Forge World, then I got to get my painting backlog cleared so when he comes in, I can
Yeah, well, we're going to be painting terrain, and he's a big model, so if you want to come and join us for some terrain building, we can slide that in.
And just like as long as he's attached to a styrofoam base, you can be like, yeah, he's a scatter terrain.
Add some flock to him.
Oh, and I also ordered 100 poker chips for a tournament I'm running at the end of the month, at a convention that I'm running at the end of the month, or the middle of next month.
We got to do a section on that, or just the...
Probably not.
we might. A whole section.
But so my whole thing is like I don't want people arguing over objective markers. So I ordered enough for all 16 tables.
Oh, cool.
And just poker chips where I will write numbers on them. Be like, those are your objectives.
Oh,
so
okay.
like your objective is smaller than that. So I don't see it being an issue, but I'm also trying to mitigate any work I have to do on the day. So
interesting. So last year, I think I was talking to Ironheart Artisans, and
they hooked you up with all that rad terrain, right? For the
well, yeah. I mean, I paid for it, but yeah, he did give me a generous discount. But he did hook me up with a whole bunch of these Void Shield tokens,
nice.
And that was for Alaska Battle Brothers when they were doing that. And I think like it, had like Alaska Battle Brothers 2016, and then had like a little Void Shield thing in it. So maybe like talk to them and like get like a whole bunch of those, like so they're like personalized, and then people can like take them when they like the last game, pick up your.
I just went super cheap, and I'm like,
no, that's cool.
$10 for 100 poker chips.
Yeah,
I will write in my finest Sharpie the objective numbers, because
pen.
that's the hard thing when you're converting things. Is like, okay, I'm expecting people to pay money to come and play this, so I have to kind of give the best experience possible.
Yeah,
and so it's kind of striking that balance between giving that fantastic experience and not bankrupting myself.
Oh yeah.
So yeah,
right. It's tough, man.
Yeah. Making some nice homemade trophies.
Yeah, they look really good.
Yeah, just classy, man. And I stole the idea from Reese when we were down in Vegas. Like me and Nate, the other guy who were running this convention, we looked at a bunch of stuff they did. And then we noticed it was like, okay, their price support, like dollar-wise, was good, but it was like, here's a Blood Bowl box. You know, and it was like, hey, Frontline got sent too many Blood Bowls, or ordered, so here's all the price support. But what was really more appreciated than that was kind of the trophies and the prizes, like things like that, kind of like you're number one kind of things. And like the guy who came in last place got this really rad, the hand-carved wooden bolter.
Yeah, that Frankie's dad had done.
Yeah, and it looked like really good.
I really wanted the wooden spoon award just so I can get that next year.
Like we almost talked about the fact that like if we went back to Vegas, so we were actively going to try and get last, without just being like, going onto the table. Okay, I concede. Bye.
No, you gotta try.
Yeah, you got to try. But like actively, so we could get that bolter, or whatever it might be next year.
It just dawned on me that like, with a Vanguard, all you have to do is take like a HQ, and then you could just take tons of Legion of the Damned. It is viable.
That
Legion
is
of the Damned army is still an option.
That is like your ultimate dream list. Is just nothing but Legion of the Damned.
Well, but back when I thought that could be a faction, and Reese is like, no, Ted.
You auto lose turn 1.
I'm sorry, I am not going to make Legion of the Damned a faction just for you.
Please. Like, no. So sad. But did you get up to anything else?
The aggressors.
The aggressors, yeah.
Like I bust those guys out. I mean, I kind of had like a vision ahead of time, but like I spent quite a few nights like just trying to get those for our game. And I think that's the first time I played with. This is going to segue into our real subject.
Oh man!
But yeah, playing with Primaris, like I was kind of like I was considering avoiding the Primaris thing, but those were really fun models. Like I think like kind of going into the maybe I'll say that, but it was kind of fun. Like it was a challenge to put together, just because they are kind of unipose.
Yep.
But they were blast. I think they ended up like I went with like a higher contrast than I usually do on my black, because I hate painting black. It's the worst. It's really mostly because it's really unrewarding. You show up and you're like, hey, I painted this black, and they're like, yeah, it's a black thing. And like I think I was talking to you, or maybe somebody else, about like I did the Derridio for the Primaris Derridio, and like I have this like gray, silver, and white model, and I have the camera on it, and like you can see all the details. It's really nice, everything. And then I pan over to the Derridio, my Iron Hands Derridio, as just like a black silhouette. I changed the ISO on my camera to like let in more light, and it's still a black silhouette with ever so slightly more detail. I'm like, no, I actually went in and highlighted all the edges. Like,
but no one appreciates.
I detailed all this shit. So I think, but with the aggressors, like I really went in and like turn up the contrast, turn up the zenithal lighting and everything, and it turned out really good.
Sure. And you did kind of like a blue skin on the face, right, for the guy that was exposed there.
And I've been doing that with my Iron Hands, because I figure they just they stay at home and play Destiny all the time when they're not killing people. So.
They get pulled away from their Warcraft raid to go and do things.
Do we have to? I mean, flesh is weak.
It turned out really well, and like I said, it's a great look for the Gravis armor, and so that had me thinking as well. It's like, because
that's right. We're going with the Cataphracti shoulder pads.
You went for like Cataphracti style shoulder pads on that Gravis armor, and it makes it look like a different model. So like just that little tweak really helps. So I'm like, the interceptors, they have the same mark of armor. So, like, how would they look with those kind of shoulder pads there?
I'm considering it. I haven't picked up any yet, but I am kind of like trying to figure out, like, do I want to do that? Because they are jump packs. They are supposed to be like a little bit more aerodynamic. So does it make sense to do like that big brutish, like shoulder pads or not?
It does fit the Imperium theme of square boxes flying through space.
It does. No, it does. So I think that I'm going to pick up
maybe
some
you
and
could
try
do
to,
like flaps, like like you have on wings, do like flaps in the armor place.
Yeah, do the grab shoot flippy bit, the grab shoot paddles the Reavers have.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Flipper boy, come here.
Oh god, poor Reavers.
I know they grew up with thalidomide.
But yeah, that's a perfect segue, Ted.
Yeah.
Look at you go into what we're mainly talking about today, which is going to be kind of the Primaris Space Marines. A little bit about kind of the initial reaction to them, as well as kind of the different units they offer, and all that other kind of.
Should we take a break and come back?
We should take a break and come back. Yeah, go break.
Gynecomastia is a myth, and so is gout. Ever met somebody with gout? I thought so. Why do we know much about these? Because we are soy. It is our job to know about your body. What we do know is, soy is a complete protein that can replace animal protein. It is a great dietary fiber and can reduce your LDL and triglycerides. We also know that if you develop man boobs, it is not our fault. It is your dad's. Soy milk. It's not as bad as they say.
Hi. We're back.
Hi.
Primaris Space Marines. Ted, what are your thoughts on before we kind of like deep dive into them? This is by all intents and purposes a brand new army. In a
lot of ways.
And that's
your Stormcast.
It's your 40K Stormcast. Mm-hmm. Remember, like when Stormcast first came out, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Sig Marines, yeah, it's coming." Like, well, it kind of went the other way now as well.
I mean, even like their shin plates look a lot like they. There's a lot of similarities. The larger models, the ultra like unit, like they're the ultimate. But yeah, I mean, I think it's like when it first was announced. There was a lot of I don't know. I haven't found like a lot of love. There's a lot of but there isn't like the kind of love that would really be the polar opposite of the amount of the salty people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the people that like it, like they have their volume knob turned up to like 8. The people who hate it have it turned up to 10. Like there isn't like there's equal portion on the opposite side.
I mean, the main concern for people right now, from kind of like the first couple months, and especially like the first couple weeks after they were announced, was Games Workshop's going to make me buy all of my Space Marines again and make them all useless.
Thank God,
right?
Not.
Which I don't see as a concern, personally. Especially like when last episode we talked about like how much care and love has gone into that Space Marine design and kind of making it completely modular.
It's ubiquitous. It's everywhere. Like there's very few units that don't have it. Like that means you have to get rid of the Land Raider because it has a regular size Space Marine on it. You have to get rid of the Rhino. You have to get rid of the Predator. You have to get rid of the
Assault, the Tactical, the Devastator, the hell, even the Scouts.
Both veterans. The Death Watch, the Grey Knights,
90% of Forge World's range. I think people really just need to view it as what it is. And be like, yeah, it's in with the Space Marine Codex, but it's essentially a new army.
Yeah.
I think narratively, it adds a huge layer to put on there of kind of like how your existing Marines relate to these Primaris Marines. And if we look at all of the novels that have come out, with Primaris kind of as the focus, which recently there has obviously been a lot.
Yeah.
I think it was Independent Characters that said that the Dark Imperium was essentially just an advert for Primaris kind of what they could do.
I haven't read it yet. You have though, right?
I've read most of it.
Okay. Well, let's quickly go into like the mythos of it, the history, and then all of like the last few weeks of history that have been around.
It's the warp. Time is irrelevant.
We'll start then contextualize from there. So the idea with the Primaris, like fluff wise, is they're old as fuck. Like a lot of the Primaris actually walked around hanging out with their Primarch. Because I think that the Primaris project started right after towards the end of the Heresy. when like a lot of the traders took off, and it was the 9 remaining chapters, right? Loyalist chapters.
So they took gene seed from every chapter, including trader.
Okay.
Right after the Horus Heresy went down, Gulliman talked to Cal, our wonderful Archmagus. He wanted a new legion of warriors to kind of help.
Right after the heresy?
Right after the heresy.
Okay, I was under the impression that it was the Emperor that did that, but
no, it was Gulliman.
Okay.
Gulliman that did that. What's super interesting to me is during the heresy, or kind of right about after when the Emperor died, Corax of the Raven Guard got like this psychic information about how to make bigger, better, stronger, faster Marines, and it's attributed to the Emperor. So maybe here just Gulliman got kind of a more complete message and was able to make it. But yeah, so they made literally tens of thousands of Primaris.
This was like 9 full legions of Primaris, from what I understand, right? Like, so you had like 90,000 guys?
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah, there was a ton of Primaris. But like essentially as soon as they were made and ready to go, they got Star Wars Episode 2. It's kind of like, frozen, until the time that they're needed. And they weren't really deployed, I don't think, on the field up until, later on here. But what I think is super interesting is kind of when you read the fluff and everything, that they talk about these guys being, put into stasis kind of back at the end of the heresy and then being woken up thousands of years later. So I think that they're kind of fish out of water as well, because they, all they know is war. But like, oh wait, it's like really different but the same now.
Yeah, so I think we talked about it a while ago, or a couple episodes ago, about like what would it be like if the Emperor or somebody else like woke up to like this whole different world, like like no, I think we're talking about like Gulliman, right? Like when he was put down,
like,
he
what
the
the
stasis,
fuck? Yeah.
like things were bad.
Great
but then
terminology,
they got really
by the way.
Fucking
great
bad.
Terminology. Put down, because he was put down like a dog.
Oh, so. Yeah. Anyway, so I think like it's a whole new, like a whole different, like worse world where everybody's just like clinging to hope and clinging to dogma, clinging to everything else. And oh man.
But luckily, they've been through all that nice Space Marine hypnotherapy.
It's cool.
But yeah, so now Gulliman wakes up, kind of stretches, kind of waits for the galaxy to go to shit again, with kind of the...
which it was.
Yeah, which it was. And then it got worse after the 13th Black Crusade kind of, opened up that massive galaxy-wide warp rift. And then he goes to call him, like, hey man, do you remember 10,000 years ago when I told you to make like 9 full legions of superhuman guys? Yeah, let's get those guys out.
Your complexion looks different than it did 10,000 years ago. There's less complexion.
As Call is essentially a toaster oven at this point. More toaster oven than man. So yeah, the Indominus Crusade begins.
Okay. So I think like... yeah, so this is their initiation, right, to battle. Is like they brought them in. They ended up. I think there was a lot of stuff. A lot of the chapters, like the Blood Angels, are nearly wiped out. And like a lot of the chapters are just like they're hitting their darkest hour, and Optimus Prime comes down, or maybe it wasn't Optimus Prime.
It was Rodimus.
Yeah. With his blue armor.
Rodimus? No, that was Ultra Magnus had the blue armor. Rodimus Prime,
girly man. Blue armor.
Oh yeah, okay. I was gonna say Rodimus was like a sweet RV.
Yeah. God, Rodimus was not sweet.
No, they turned him from a sports car to a RV.
Yeah, like all right, now all of a sudden you're middle aged. Enjoy your RV
man.
potential.
That would be like Gulliman going to like sleep as a Primarch and coming back as a commissar. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want Rodimus to like his next evolution is going to be a 401k. Like this is a retirement portfolio.
Oh man,
transform into stocks and bonds.
I got mad respect for the 7 of you that understood our references there.
And, so I think like in a way, because I think they had to finish this project before it all went down. Okay, I guess we should continue that first.
No, go. Yeah.
So the Space Marines, they have their, what was it, the 20 glands and like augmentations.
Oh yeah,
they added 3 more.
Yep.
One of them was not as efficient as they were originally hoping. It's like half a gland.
They're like now 15% more glands.
Yeah. So they get the sinew coils, right, to make them stronger. So they got extra muscles on top of their muscles for their muscles. And then they got the Magnificent.
The Magnificat. Meow.
So it's a fuzzy lobe in their brain. It increases growth, functionality, and also I think it's like is that the pain? No, that's the other thing. But it's like it's half. This is like it's half of what the amortis gland was supposed to be for the Primarchs, but they lost the information on how to make the amortis gland, and they were like, this is good enough. All right, it's the longer life gland.
well, what I found interesting was like, so Carl was like, yeah, we're just gonna grab this and then you'll be good to go, and then like there's two halves of it, and they like said that he got the right half fine, but like the information on making the left half was mysteriously eradicated,
right? So who knows, maybe that's Cypher.
Like maybe it's just the Emperor being like, stop fucking with my stuff.
Yeah, fine, I'm gonna put passcodes on everything. Can't get into my porn. So,
the right half of the brain is battle knowledge. The left half of the brain, which was totally eradicated, was furry porn,
which is crucial to immortal statue. So then he has the Belisarian furnace. I don't know where they got that name from.
That's I believe that's a 40K sex move. Like, maybe you want to do the Belisarian furnace.
Ooh, that's hot. And this is a dormant organ that lays in between the heart and acts like underneath the taint, under it, and it's like a combat drugs and painkillers and heals bone.
But it only kind of comes out at kind of extreme
at
stress
night.
It mostly comes at night, mostly. But yeah, it only activates when they're like super stressed or like super injured and things like that. And yeah, it's just kind of like a combat stem that kind of helps them heal a little bit faster, which to me is crazy because your average Marine is described as like instantly like scarring up and healing anyway. But yeah, it just kind of, I guess it's like, you remember Duke from Captain America? Captain America Daredevil villain Duke, like he would take the red pills or the blue pills.
Oh, vaguely. Yeah.
Okay. That's what it reminds me. It's
wow.
Like, yeah.
Banish. Duke is.
I organized my old comics this week.
I noticed the boxes in the living room.
Well, yeah, Phil, before he left, dropped me off a couple of boxes of his recent comics. I'm like, I'm going to get back into comics again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, so those are all the extra kind of glands.
So they have the super mutants, and then they plop them down. And I think like all the chapters except for I think the Space Wolves take to them like hotcakes. Like, yep, we're pretty much wiped out. So we'll take whatever you got. You got a bus driver. You have some like maybe citizen militia. I heard that didn't work out during the Beast Horizons.
You'll get any of them free Space Marines.
We'll take it. I think the Space Wolves are still like, I don't know about this because we're all a bunch of mutants, and I don't want you to know that we turn into werewolves at night. So if you wouldn't mind.
It has been said that like 95% of the Marines took to them like instantly, but at the same time, that's kind of like, if you're starving on the street and about to die of hunger and someone offered you like a 5-day-old chicken sandwich from McDonald's, you'd be like, okay, I will eat that because I will die if I don't.
And I did watch a YouTube clip that showed that McDonald's food does not actually rot. So
I watched that too. That's disgusting. But I still love McChickens. Holy cow.
So they take to them, and I think like, yeah, you're right. Like even the Space Wolves, even in their their darkest hour, like, well, fuck it, we got to do this.
Tagline for Primaris Space Marines: well, fuck it.
Yeah. But I think like a lot of the Marines, like just about everybody except for the Dark Angels, have there's some taint to their gene seed, right? Like everybody has like some like malfunction, but the Primaris are almost entirely pure.
Yes.
And they are specifically designed, who doesn't design something to be flawed? Like, fuck it. This is good enough.
Fuck it. Sir, they're all coming out with fangs, and they occasionally go into blood rages. Fuck it. Well, I have 19 more of these bastards to make. Let's just call it good.
Yeah, the bolt hole for that seat under the driver's side is not in the right position. Make it work.
It is now.
It's killing people. Doesn't matter. But I think like part of that was part of the fear of regular Marines too, wasn't it? Like that they were afraid that these perfect Space Marine were basically going to like tattle on them, they were even more, because I think a lot of the chapters kind of try to hide their flaws, especially the Space Wolves.
Very flawed.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, it turns out like I said, 90% of the fiction that's come out from Black Library about Primaris has generally been about them fighting alongside regular Marines. Regular Marines being like, the fuck are you? Get away from me. Then by the end of the story, they respect their battle prowess and now they're brothers again. So It's kind of
overcoming differences.
Yeah, essentially, and I think majority of chapters are like that. And I think the only reason they're saying 95% have accepted it is the same reason that they leave 2 of the Primarchs blank, is so you can include that in your own fluff. Be like, no, mine is the chapter that rejected these Primaris. So forge your own narrative. But I mean, the majority are kind of seeing them like they would any kind of recruits, and not really worrying about them tattling to a girly man about like what they're up to.
Yeah,
because they're gene seed. Like generally, when they're going to the chapters, you're getting kind of the Sons of Dorn going to Imperial Fists, or you have kind of Leman Russ's gene seed going to the Space Wolves. It's not like you have your Space Wolves, and then all of a sudden, I believe that hey man, I don't have your gene seed, but I'm here to hang anyway. What I found super interesting about the Primaris, which I didn't know until I started researching for this.
Okay.
So we know about the Ultima founding, where they take like half of the Primaris numbers they have, and when you're entirely new chapters.
Is that the Unnumbered Sons or whatever?
That was when they were making like their own chapters. That was Ultima founding.
Okay.
So that was solely Primaris Space Marine chapters.
Oh, okay.
The Unnumbered Sons is what I was going to talk about, because the other half
for you.
Yeah,
no, you may as well not.
The other half, they organize into legions again, which is insane. It goes like, all of a sudden, Gulliman's just like, yeah, I have 9 legion-sized armies that all follow me. I know I said not to 10,000 years ago, but it's cool now. We're good. I love the fact that.
So what happened to them? Does he still have these unnumbered?
No,
I heard that they broke up. Yeah,
they did. Like that teen couple at a high school prom. They're no longer.
Sort of shoving in the hallway. I
love that they refer to themselves as Gray Shields. Like like they have their own little thing like that.
So where does that come from? Because I heard that, but I haven't.
I don't know where it comes from.
Okay,
but I just think it sounds badass.
So it's a little bit better than White Shields. You don't want to call yourself White Shields.
No, that yeah.
So Space Marine conscript has a little bit more pigment,
but it speaks to the Death Watch as well, where they have Black Shields. And those are Marines who you don't want to know their history or their past.
Oh, I gotcha.
But yeah, so the Unnumbered Sons were organized into chapters, and they fought. But when they fought, they fought in kind of mixed gene seed units.
Okay, yeah.
So you had like, say your intercessor squad would be like a couple of Imperial Fists, a couple of Space Wolves, a couple of Dark Angels. And Gulliman did that so that they would kind of learn each other's tactics and have a little bit of it was a team building exercise.
Yeah.
So they didn't be like, fuck you, Space Wolf, I'm a Dark Angel, and like likewise.
Because I think he brought that from his experience with the Great Crusade, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like where there all of a sudden there was like this infighting, like Dark Angels hated Space Wolves and
they're
so on.
Just fight together, man. That's how it's done.
You have the option of fighting your brother or Chaos. What would you prefer, the mutant or your brother? But it also kind of reminded me a lot of the Death Watch too, where they kind of played to each other's strengths too.
Yeah.
So you had like your Assault Blood Angels, or like your Forward Raven Guard, and so on.
But yeah, like as the Ultima Crusade went on, the number of the sons kind of fell through either natural casualties or they were kind of handed out to other legions.
Oh, okay.
So half of your Primaris. Go away, be Space Marine chapters. You're your own guys now.
I just like the idea that they had like a banquet and they're like handing them out like candy or something. Like, here, I'm a Primaris Marine. I am a person. No, whatever, dude.
I would like to imagine all of the Primaris were gathered in the cargo hold of the giant ship that was taking them across the galaxy, and it was like Harry Potter with a sorting hat. So they're like, Space Marine chapter, Unnumbered Son, Lieutenant.
Sweet.
So those guys, they were off there doing their own thing, their own chapters. And then, like a party bus across the galaxy, the Unnumbered Sons traveled and were either, handed out to reinforce Blood Angels or, Imperial Fists on the way, or they just got killed in battle. The last battle of the Unnumbered Sons, there was only 20,000 of them left.
Oh, wow. So a couple chapters worth. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah, only about 20 chapters worth. But if you imagine like where they started at 9 full legion strength to come down to just 20,000 for the last battle, I believe is the Battle of Raucus.
I hadn't heard of that one.
Afterwards, Gulliman was like, "Yo, no, we're done. No more unnumbered sons." And they either made new chapters again, or they would go to establish kind of first founding chapters. So yeah, they either went to kind of. So that's why, like the existing chapter or the first foundings, they have like super experienced Primaris.
Okay.
Because usually those are ones who have like Ultima Crusaded across the galaxy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I love that kind of thought that, you know, like, fuck you, I have 9 legions. That's against the Codex, bitch. I wrote the Codex.
I like you may as well call the chapter Unnumbered Sons, because you don't want anybody to really look to count.
How many is there? 1 chapter's worth.
Unnumbered.
Which is how many? 1 chapter's worth.
How many sheep is that? A lot. Many sheep.
So now the kind of point we are in the fluff in a whole with the Primaris is that we have a bunch of Primaris only chapters, and then we have like kind of edits to the Codex to allow Primaris Marines into regular Space Marine chapters.
Okay.
And if we look at kind of the edits that have been made, or I think they added a company and like kind of they have a couple different squads in like within different companies. We see they're not there to replace Marines. They're not there in the strength necessary for kind of mixed things to kind of take over. There's entire chapters of Primaris, but that's just because, you know, Games Workshop's going to know that they're having all these cool new toys come out. There's going to be people who do nothing but field, so they want to kind of appease that part as well. But
you know, it just dawned on me is like you're saying that in a way it seems as though some of those units almost came out of Heresy era. Like, I mean, if you
punching microphone, sorry.
You know, like the Hellblasters. I mean, that's essentially like the tactical support squad just hopped up, and then you have like the intercessor, the jump pack guys. I think there was the despoilers or whatever. There was like a unit that was like 2 weapons or 2 pistols or something like that, and then like on jump packs they were supposed to be like mobile shooty. And so maybe they are kind of like hinting back to older.
Yeah, and what I like about it as well is all the units are like general single kind of weapons. You know, it's not like the old tactical squad build where you have like 7 tactical Marines, a sergeant, a special weapon, a heavy weapon.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, you all have the same guns.
You guys are good at this thing. Do this thing.
You are good at this specific thing. Do that specific thing well. And that's also why I don't see Marines being replaced. They play completely differently than just regular Marines because, you know, you have your Hellblaster guys. I mean, they're good at kind of mid-range stuff, but, you know, Alaskan Devastator squad's going to be better at other things. So.
Yeah. I mean, that was kind of interesting. I thought that, like, you know, coming with the Hellblasters, you know, like that was a heavy support slot. You know, it was very distinct from, you know, when I first saw the unit, I thought it'd be like an elite or something like that, but it was a heavy support. So it's like it's a tactical answer to the heavy support or the Devastator squad, but it's not. It's not that. Right. It doesn't fit that role, but it kind of does. It's like
so. Let's talk about Hellblasters.
Okay.
Hellblasters are kind of, like you said, the heavy fire support. They have their variety now of plasma weapons, which
bananas.
that multi-part kit is bananas good. Like all of the multi-part Primaris stuff looks amazing.
Yeah.
But they are on the table, probably one of the most popular Primaris units.
Oh, okay. I can imagine. Like, that's a pretty decent AP, pretty decent strength.
And and then they pair up really well with kind of apothecaries and company ancients for like rerolls and extra fires, and you kill my guys, I'm going to shoot anyway.
Okay.
They're super effective when used well. And like I said, a lot of competitive builds are including a lot of those. There's a reason.
I guess I had to buy some after all.
That's the reason. The only reason I have 10. Like that's my only painted Primaris unit is 10 Hellblasters. So. What do you think of the Hellblasters in general?
I haven't played with them. I mean, I think like I think the whole like the philosophy that they've used with the Primaris, which was everybody's going to do this one thing, and you have a choice for the entire unit. There aren't really a lot of options. You know, your sergeant, you may upgrade to have like a sword. Not an axe, not a maul, not a lance, or whatever. It's like you might upgrade to have a sword. And so I think like that's kind of, for me, like it's kind of frustrating, and not that that's a universal frustration, but just like for like I like to know exactly what I'm going to build before I commit to it.
Yeah.
And so it takes me a while to make decisions as I sit there and stare at my unfinished ceiling for the last like 7 months. Like, what exactly do I want to do with it?
I think my favorite thing about them as well is because they're like, You can have a plasma weapon.
Yeah.
What if I don't want it? You can have a slightly longer range plasma weapon.
Yeah.
What about me? You can have a shorter ranged plasma weapon.
So maybe I really should look at it that way, where it's like, instead of which commitment do you want to make and then regret later, maybe it's like they're all relatively the same, as like what slight advantage do you want or not.
Yeah. And like I said, the way I'm viewing kind of the Primaris and like Hellblaster's claws in general is the same way I would view my Dreadnought. Like, what do I want my Dreadnought to do? I want it to punch things. Okay, so I'm going to take these two weapons, you know, like, so it's like they have that specific role.
I think like it's a lot easier to magnetize a Dreadnought, though.
Nah.
Well, for you.
What's magnetized? So let's, I guess, I mean, I want to move back a little bit here and go on to kind of their standard mainstay, like everyday troop, which would be the Intercessor Squad.
Okay.
Their standard tactical guys. Those were the first ones that kind of leaked out or kind of got seen.
Yeah.
From a
rain box and all that.
From a design aspect. I mean, obviously, there's a lot you can tell, like, about the Space Marine range, and kind of you can tell it's a Space Marine by looking at it. But they also bring in, like, you know, that curved knee pad, like your Age of Sigmar. And I think there's a heft to it, you know, and it's like, to me, they're a more satisfying model to kind of build than the Tactical Marine, because like, after kind of going back to Tactical Marines, you know, I made some Devastator squads after making all my Primaris. They're not quite as chunky, you know, or you know, like, satisfying as that. I will say Intercessor is a noun. It is an actual word. It is not a word they made up. It is a person who intervenes on behalf of another, especially by prayer.
Whoa.
Which I'm like, whoa, that makes them even more badass.
What does Inceptor mean?
It is not a real word.
Okay.
I believe it's the bad guy in Transformers.
Just the bad guy.
Yeah, just one of them. But yeah, they come with kind of the standard pattern bolt rifles. Which is kind of
30
like
inches and has like an AP of -1.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a bolt gun on steroids.
Yeah.
So it has all the same kind of stats as a bolt gun. It has like an extra range, like you said. It's like 25% longer, and it has
I've seen those
little
ads.
bit of AP on there.
Boing.
It says most chapters have rules, their own kind of idea about what intercessors should do. Imperial Fist use them as kind of in breach suppressing roles. Raven Guard use them as kind of defensive like roles. But they are, again, I can't get over the models. Like the bolt rifle is to me what a bolt gun should look like.
Yeah, I mean it's more rifle-like, and I think the other one's like more like a submachine gun, like the contemporary bolter.
Yeah, you're like, no, you know, back in second edition where the bullets went in like a half inch away from the very tip of the gun. Yeah. But they look more like, you know, it's. I think there's some cues taken from kind of like modern military as well.
For sure.
Of how the guns look there.
It's like all their kit and everything, I think, looks a lot more militaristic.
Yeah, and there's, you know, everyone has pouches now and kind of other things like that. On the table, I mean, unfortunately, intercessors fill this kind of spot where they're 20 points a model, which is
expensive, but not terrible.
Not terrible, but in that slot, there's a bunch, and especially, I think people haven't found the right ways to run them yet. I mean, like they kind of have the same thing where they have singular roles.
So real quick, the last ITC you played in, there was at least a couple people that played all Primaris, right? I know Danny played all Primaris.
Yep, Danny played all Primaris. He had mainly Hellblasters.
Okay. Oh, okay. There you go. Fuck your couch.
Hellblasters kind of castled up. With kind of apothecaries to kind of add Hellblasters back so you can kind of keep overcharging a standard, so when they die they shoot again. They did pretty well. Like Danny is like I said, is a very good player. And he had like one very close loss and two very good games. But we've seen kind of entirely Primaris armies struggle just because, again, it's a new army syndrome. Like, if I want to know how to play Space Marines, then I have a historical precedent to kind of set that on. Same for Eldar, same for, you know, even Imperial Knights. Whereas this stuff here is Space Marines haven't seen kind of this unit is good at this and this alone.
So it's not just like a new edition; you have a new unit or series of units on top of that.
Like I said, I really enjoy the Inceptors.
Okay.
The jump pack guys.
Did you play with them?
I haven't played with them yet. I've watched a lot of battle reports where they've been used, and they have essentially heavy bolters, and they're deep striking down, and they're getting off a lot of shots. The only thing I don't like is the Gravis armor. It's
not a fan. That's right. We've talked about that.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of
plates and
just how many curves. I guess
it's curvy.
Is there like the Primaris captain, the Inceptors, the aggressors, they all have that kind of like Gravis part in armor. Like I'm okay with kind of like the ribbed for your pleasure chest plate. that looks good, and especially like your aggressors really kind of helped me appreciate the rest of it.
Okay,
but it's like solely just the sheer kind of amount of curves.
Yeah,
around it.
Rid of a lot of curves. All right, take out his hand, put a buzzsaw.
But yeah, the Inceptors are kind of the. I mean, with the release, we saw kind of one of every slot get released. So like a fast attack, an elite, a heavy support, a troop, and the Inceptors are kind of like your fast attack things. They have the jump packs, or like kind of like the StarCraft 2 style single giant jet engine on their back, and the tiny little baby flaps to stop them there.
Some of that's kind of silly to me. But
they have the red moon boots, so that when they land, they kind of bounce along. But they have a couple of really cool little things, like the models. They have kind of the welder's mask.
That's so awesome. That's so
which
sexy.
just I have these great images of them falling from their main battle bars from the sky and kind of going from space into orbit, and like just these guys kind of coming all the way down.
I think it's just to save them from their plasma guns exploding and killing them.
So yeah, and they're saying that they do this. They do come in from entry, so they could drop in from space.
Oh shit!
And that makes
Halo
them
jumps.
Halo jump. That makes them super stealthy, because like if you see like these little blips on radar, you're not thinking, oh shit, here comes jump pack troops coming from space. You're like, this is debris or whatever it is. So they come down around the same time as drop pods and land, and then. When they land, they have all of these like heavy bolters and all these like kind of troop mowing down weapons, but it's the element of surprise that they provide, because no one's expecting, again, orbital combat.
Okay,
and this is kind of a new thing for Space Marines, where we have drop pods, we have all the Thunderhawks and the Storm Eagles and the landing crafts, but not kind of these like individual guys doing Halo jumps.
Okay,
it was
It is kind of neat. Like, I guess, we have like the bikes. Like, you can get an attack bike that kind of does something like that. Like the fast moving heavy weapon, but it's still a little bit different. Like you can't just drop down. You see the trajectory ahead of time. Like you kind of have the land speeder, but it's like those things crumble really fast.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is like it's the idea of like this surprise heavy weapons,
and they're there
That's
to
cool.
kind of like hold the landing site as well.
Okay.
So like
interesting.
they drop in first and kind of get their perimeter going, and like I said, the weapons they now can have the plasma exterminators as well. They kind of keep that clear while your drop pods and everything kind of come in around.
Wow.
So
they're the pre-spearhead.
Yeah, it's just such a cool imagery of like these guys just kind of dropping down, and I imagine the poof, 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 like all of these guys
boots.
dropping. Yeah, where the movement is a boom. Just imagine a beach ball bouncing. That's a Primaris arriving. They're also used to kind of attack command units and batteries before the main attack comes down. So if they have like crew like mounting like they just kind of come down and land, kill all the crew, take over the guns. And like I said, I love, after reading this kind of fluff for them, I love the unit because it's just, they're shock troops, and their role is to go in and surprise and distract and kind of secure ahead of the main attack coming.
So I think that last game we played, I almost brought it was a Deathstorm drop pod.
You do love your Deathstorm drop pod.
Yeah, this edition it's not as it doesn't hit as hard as
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but like part of the reason I wanted to do that was like as a sniper, like be able to drop it in just right to where like the closest unit is the enemy character and then hit the enemy character. And then, but I think like with this, like that unit, you're like with the interceptors or whatever, like they could drop in essentially, like, because people generally put like their unit out front and then they have their character behind it so that they don't get shot up, or at least that's how I play, which never really works out because I'm a weird boy and I'm jumping everybody out of the way, and then all of a sudden there's like a weird boy sitting in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, oh right, I should have hidden.
I surround my characters with dreadnoughts.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know, like that could be a good strategy, is like drop it down to where like your character is the closest.
And that's why we've seen the rise of the conscript and the horrors, because we just see things being bubble wrapped. One of our local guys, Rob Porter, of the Wolfkin podcast now, sees a lot of success because like turn one he sets everything up, and then he puts like surrounds everything he has with a line of like 40 conscripts. Oh jeez. So you can't deep strike near the stuff. You're out of range with your deadliest weapons, and it works really well for that kind of like same thing. The way I would use Inceptors is exactly like you said. You drop them in the back lines, because even at their base weapons, and they're super cheap now, they got a points drop. In the codex? Okay. From the index, they got a points drop. Having essentially 6 heavy bolters, being able to drop wherever you want is just such a huge. You can't ignore it. Yeah. And I mean, I use Terminators for the same thing, and now I'm looking at them, I'm like, well, maybe I'll switch to Terminators for. It's just kind of dropping this threat in the backfield is just too much to kind of look over.
See, Cataphracti don't have the teleport, do they? Or
they have teleport.
Okay. But they don't have the teleport Homer. That's the only
my
thing. My
only issue with them is they move 4 inches.
Oh, God. I know. Well, the things you do for an extra plus
so
one.
I like over the weekend at the tournament, I was running a Cataphracti captain.
Yeah.
But he spent all 3 games advancing because I'm like running, like all my dreadnoughts are moving like 8-9 inches. Yeah. And so I'm advancing my Cataphracti captain. 1. Now everyone's out of range of him because guys, wait up! Like, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, so I haven't seen somebody use their command points so often to reroll their advance rolls as John.
I did use about 1 command point a game minimum to reroll in advance.
Oh God.
Because I use 3 every game to make a chapter master.
Okay.
The other super cool unit, Reavers, the elite choice, the shock troops. It says, well, the experts at rapid strike and did it. I mean, I still think Inceptors now, kind of after going to the fluff, are way better at the shock troops.
It seems like there's, I think with like the their anti-grav flippers, I think being able to drop in, especially after I got my ass handed to me with those the Deathwing, being able to drop in, they're the same points basically as like your regular Primaris, right? Before flippers, and then they basically have like the same weapon, plus they have like that -1 to your leadership thing.
Yeah, it's they can do some real damage to the backfield.
So being able to like drop down with like a rapid fire weapon and just like hit people at rapid fire range like that first turn, like that seems pretty okay.
Yeah, I mean they are known for their terror tactics of like surprise motherfucker and then cutting everyone up. Yeah. So they are feared, and then the way the models look as well really adds to that kind of thing where you have really cool Mad Max skull faces like over the entire line. They are used for kind of these shock assaults because jump pack troops are good and everything, but you can hear jump packs coming. Okay. And with the Reavers, because they're kind of falling with style and not flying, they get in a little bit easier than there. Obviously, they work really well, kind of like with your sneakier, like fast moving chapters. And I will say.
I'm waiting for the Capri statement.
That's
what I've been waiting for.
The Mark X Reaver armor. Obviously, I guess my issue is with all the different marks of Primaris armor, because now we've seen the main Primaris armor that your intercessors have. You have the Gravis armor that the other ones have, and you have the Reaver armor, which is 3 different types. I don't know the difference between the Reaver and the regular Mark X or Mark 10 armor.
From a stat perspective, or
from a stat perspective,
there is none.
There is none. It says I feel there should be a difference.
Yeah.
But the Reaver armor is kind of it's described as kind of being lightweight ceramite. Where to me, I'm like, why wouldn't
it makes absolutely no noise when turned on?
Why wouldn't everyone be using lightweight ceramite? Is it kind of And yeah, the gears and the servos are silent, which, I guess I never really expected a Space Marine to be moving along kind of like, that 209 sound, like, like, oh, looks like, there's an assault squad coming, But aside from that, yeah, when you get over the fact it looks like they're wearing capris, which, I feel like...
I actually had like a thought about that. But,
okay, go.
Well, they're supposed to be the special forces, and I think that they're supposed to emulate the British special forces, like wear the gaiters over their boots. So I think that's kind of like supposed to be the thin ankles and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're just... the entire Reaver squad was lost to an ankle injury because it was the least protected area. Something I didn't know that was really neat is they have an enlarged pauldron on their left-hand side to help protect them in close combat. So when they run in, they can kind of, shove out their left shoulder and kind of start blocking some things.
Well, that was what they were talking about. Was the Corvus armor, like Mark 6 armor, was that shoulder pad, that exact same shoulder pad. So actually, I was looking at the models and I was like, I think on a video somebody was putting Leaky Cheese. Was putting together some, and I'm like, oh yeah, the left hand side is a little weird. I wonder why they did that. Like maybe they just modeled it wrong or something. But
he's like, no.
But yeah, I think that idea, like that studded shoulder pad, the studs are actually like bolts basically to like replace that armor because it gets hit all the time. But I guess that kind of goes to that.
Yeah, and each stud actually is another kind of layer. So like. Since we did like episode 2, I think. Hell, a couple years ago we did like things about Space Marines.
That was a good one. That was the rest were shit, but that was a really good one.
Yeah, the rest were shit.
Stop listening to us.
Yeah, but don't. Well, no, actually, listen to us on mute. Soon we'll be selling mattress ads. The studs, like whenever I see like a guy covered in studs, because like you see a guy like, yeah, I got leg studs and arm studs, all I can think was like, you're a really shit Space Marine.
Just been bolted back together.
Or like kind of like the hand-me-down clothes to the little brother. I'm like, this one has like 30 studs. Do you want armor or not? Because that's what you're getting.
It's like the equivalent of like patches on your pants. Yeah. So you're saying the oversized shoulder pad and the
capri pants.
Yeah. Don't quite do it for you.
No, I love the model overall. Yeah. I make fun about them having capris, and I did a Photoshop I never actually published of
really?
A Reaver wearing kind of effectively like a Hawaiian shirt and capris.
Oh.
But I really do love the squad and how it looks. I own a squad of 6. Because I got to start collecting boxes. I looked at the 10-man squad that came out, and the possible ones. Fantastic. Yeah. How in the hell are you meant to play a game with the model with a grappling gun?
That's like with everybody's a shutout grapple. That's everybody's comment like online.
It's a valid question.
Yeah, no, it is. I'm not
because
saying,
I can be like, okay, this Reaver squad is hiding behind this tree. Yeah, I can see the tip of his grapple on the other side of the table.
I can shoot him.
Oh God, rules is written. You can. Yeah. But like things like honestly, like it made me excited for doing things like dioramas.
Right, and that's I think like. Yeah,
I think that's what it's there for. Because can you imagine like building like a little like a squad, like if you took the gun from a basilisk and put it kind of up in a ruin and then had kind of chaosy guard like loading it, and you had like a Reaver squad shooting a dart through like the wall behind them or like scaling the things. I mean, there's so much that can be done with that kid. I just don't have the necessary weight to put on the base to make sure it stays flat there.
Well, I wonder, people, a lot of aftermarket people were doing the missile flying out of the missile launcher. Or
and like the little flames coming out the gun barrel.
Yeah, so I wonder if it, then GW started doing that too. We had the missile that you can insert like that. So that kind of like, in a way, it's like getting rid of the aftermarket people. And maybe the grapple was like a preemptive, like, hey, don't make stuff for our stuff.
Okay, let's go into some heavy stuff. My personal favorite, the Redemptor Dreadnought.
No, I haven't heard about that. What is that? Redemptor?
Well, that is a Dreadnought beyond redemption.
Is that a real word?
It's dog. I heard you like Dreadnoughts. It's the Centurion suit of Dreadnoughts.
Because they Dreadnought in your Dreadnought.
Yeah, they put a Dreadnought in the Dreadnought because they take the existing sarcophagus and put it within the Dreadnought's chest. It's faster. It's meant to be tougher.
Is it Primaris?
Sort of.
What's the fluff on that? Is it? Do they say it? Because I noticed the sarcophagus, or you pointed out that the sarcophagus is bigger than the regular Dreadnought.
It is bigger than regular Dreadnoughts. I do believe it is primarily Primaris. And then for like I've been very defensive about this guy because I love them on. People are like, well, Primaris can't be that good. They only just like showed up and already they're, being put in dreadnoughts and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, one, war, people die. You could be the best soldier in the world. Then two, with the rift and the warp being like it is right now, time doesn't matter anymore. And that's what I think people aren't getting. Is
playing a game that spans like thousands of years in the course of like 30. Like, come on, guys. Like,
the thing is, it was built by the tech priests on Mars, the Sudas. And they maybe didn't tell people that it slowly killed the people inside.
Oh, okay.
So the pilots are treated kind of like batteries, where like they're drained, they get thrown away.
Oh wow! So you'll get a dreadnought, and it'll have like several different people
because the intensity of the machine just kind of drives them and destroys them. The first Primaris Space Marine who died. In Ultramar, I think Malkades or something, he was turned into a Redemptor Dreadnought. But the other thing is kind of like, it's the most grimdark thing there is. You're built and bred and born for war and death, and when you die, you get entombed in something that is going to kill you based on how awesome it is. The kit is fantastic.
Okay.
It's the model itself was wonderful. It goes together so easily. There's 0 mold lines. Very easy to pose.
Nice.
And then I've already talked about how I feel about it on the table, where I wish it was just like
invulnerable save or something,
like a 5-up invulnerable or toughness 8, or instead of toughness 7, like one little thing.
I wonder if you did the Daradio bubble, had the Daradio like march up with like your Redemptors side by side, get your 5+ invulnerable or whatever. You get your these are my babies.
Or
thank you, mama.
Or I can just be like, hey, this big scary guy back here, this is what his guns do. That psychological thing again. Yeah. I'm a jerk like that. But yeah, I
see these scouts right there. They have 5+.
They have sniper rifles. Ooh.
You know what sniper rifles are? Immortal wounds, or mortal wounds rather.
So many mortal wounds. The other piece of heavy armor, Ted, I'm going to kind of put over to you right now, is the repulsor. A very controversial vehicle.
Still, okay.
People get butthurt really easily.
I hang out with nerds enough, apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, that's. I think it was kind of neat because like this vehicle, I think they've been kind of talking about it, or like we've seen evidence of it for probably almost a decade. Like people have been talking about this vehicle that was in between the size of a Land Raider and a Predator for a long time. So this is not new. So people are butthurt about it. Like they got to go back in time and like complain to Jess Goodwin.
Maybe complain to the guy who helped design it, and also all of the Space Marine models you love for the last 20 years.
Yeah. Hey, this doesn't fit the fluff. You mean the fluff I wrote? Suck it. Both balls. I don't know. I mean, I think it definitely looks like it's a direct rip or like marriage between a land speeder and a Land Raider. But like you can complain about that. And I know it's like some people have done like some Photoshop saying like, oh, this is exactly what it is. It's a marriage between the two. Right. No shit.
Yeah, no shit. I like consistency in my range.
Well, that, but also you have to remember that like we've gone through the dark age of technology. Like we have lost all of our technology. Like we are in a place where like the Imperium have no new ideas. Like they can't dream out of the box. Like, their idea of like a bolter and a chainsword is a chainsword bayonet bolter. Like that's a new weapon to them. Like, no, you just took that thing and that thing and
oh my god, I can strap a chainsaw to this? Let's do that. That's new. That's evil. Kill that guy.
I haven't seen that happen in about 10,000 years. That's Mark 6. So I think that there's a lot of precedence for this. So it's okay. I think the design, like the actual build is amazing. Like they did a really good job. Other than that line down the side.
But that's all Space Marine vehicles. That's like Land Raider, Predator. If you haven't rubber banded a Space Marine vehicle, you haven't built a Space Marine vehicle.
Yeah, I'm glad they fixed the land speeder. That one was an issue. But it's a ton of pieces. That did not go together as quickly as I thought it was going to.
No. And I was bad, and I glued all the stowage onto mine, and now I'm like, I should have left that clean at the back. But that's okay. It's designed to be like the sole way to carry Primaris across the field. It uses kind of anti-gravity, as we discussed, kind of float on there. We did see a couple of innovations model-wise with this. We saw a new flyer stand which I love. I think it's a fantastic. I mean,
it's your birth control pill.
It is because it's like I have a lot of Eldar grav tanks that all sit on very skinny stands that snap.
Oh, okay.
You know, so I raise them up other ways and things like that. And I'm like, oh, what do you mean I could just have like a single piece of plastic rather than having to snap it and then redo it?
Super sturdy.
It's very, very sturdy. And you can do like little changes in the angle, which I thought was like super cool of them to think of. They talk about how it can go over any terrain.
Okay.
And that's kind of one of the benefits of it there. But it's not very fast. Just because
it's 14 inches or whatever, which is I think a Rhino. Or
we've got the same amount as a Land Raider, maybe a little bit more. Fluff wise, that's just because the sheer amount of power it takes to power the thing. The coolest thing I read about it was that anyone who tries to kind of get close to it finds themselves kind of battered by gravity.
Oh, the grav backwash, which I think was the Javelin and some of the Heresy vehicles have.
Yeah.
No, the oh god, what is it? The Custodes. A lot of the vehicles have it.
The Custodes have it.
So they brought that back.
But the thing they say is they can direct it.
Oh,
so they can kind of push people back and do other things. In the Dark Imperium book, there was like a Action Chaos Space Marine who runs up, and tries to do the action hero slide underneath and kind of attach the bomb to the bottom and then slide out the other side. Except he was crushed to death by the grav wave. So it's just like literally being run over by a tank. It's just that it can go over things. So don't try and slide underneath it.
Well, if you think about it, like in a physics perspective, like you have to have as much like energy going up as you do down, and in order to keep the thing lofted. So it really is like the weight of the thing pushing down.
Though, admittedly, according to the fluff, the multiple layers of kind of the ceramide and adamantium mean that it's impervious to all but impervious to normal weaponry, and I can tell you that it's not.
Oh, so you played with it?
The pull pistols will take it down. It's kind of it's a weird one for me because on an army full, if we're looking at Primaris as kind of a separate army unto themselves, in an army full of single purpose units, it's a multi-purpose vehicle.
Yeah, it is. It was definitely like, it really feels like with all the weapons that they put on it, it had 8th edition in mind. Like, it is the quintessential 8th edition unit thing.
So you have like...
Because you could shoot at different things with your different things, and like you can have your anti-aircraft, you can have your anti-infantry, you can have your anti-tank. And
it can have las cannons, heavy stubbers, las talon, like from the Stormhawk. It can have the onslaught Gatling cannon, auto launchers, storm, like just everything. All the guns. You can make it anti-tank. You can make it anti-person. My only wish is I could take it without any guns at all. So like almost as like a Rhino, because right now, I'm spending like a couple hundred points on a Hellblaster squad to put in it, and then I have to spend like 300 or whatever points on the tank to ferry them up the field. It kind of makes it hurt a little bit, and I feel just like having, and the way the kit's built as well, it'd be super easy to just be like, that doesn't have a turret. And it's obviously been designed with modularity in mind. And we see Forge World's already producing kind of chapter-specific doors for it, or they will do.
Oh, I hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, cool. The open day, they kind of previewed Custody Terminators was one thing they previewed, and then the doors for the repulsor on the side as well. I like it a lot. It's a pretty vehicle. It fits in well with the rest of the line, but it's different enough to stand out. And
I think like one of the things that I feel, and I'm actually kind of like harkening back to like something that Leaky Cheese on YouTube had said, but it kind of felt like a lot of what they brought out so far, like they kind of like piecemealing it, and like we didn't know the end result with a lot of things until like, of course, we saw the leaked picture of like all the units in one picture. But I think like we've kind of piecemealed, like first it was in their assessors, and then and so on. Like then the Reavers showed up out of the blue. We're like, what the hell?
I was like, what the fuck is this? But then I read Dark Imperium, and if I read that on time, then
you would have known. So I kind of wonder, like, because I think that looking at the rules, kind of as I was mentioning before, like you have your Incessor veteran sergeant. His only upgrade option is
a power sword.
Power sword. And no other options whatsoever. And I know, like, in rules, like, that's all they give you in the kit. That's all they give you. They're only going to give you rules for what is on the kit. So, I kind of wonder, like, are there other options coming down the road? Like, are we going to see another vehicle? There's no drop pod. They can't hop in a drop pod. Like, there's very few things that you can stick them in.
I think, like, a couple years down the line, we'll see some more stuff. But but I think this wave of Primaris is it.
Yeah.
I think, everything is kind of now refocused. The only kind of other stuff Primaris have is kind of slightly better existing units, like a slightly better librarian or apothecary.
Yeah.
Or, the chaplain. They're Primaris, but they're, they still have the same rules as their kind of Marine counterpart for just a little bit more points. The only model that we haven't seen is the Overlord. Which is
from the book?
Which is a Primaris Thunderhawk, pretty much.
Oh,
it's described as looking kind of like the Death Watch. What's that ship called that they have?
The Black Star or whatever.
Oh, the Corvus Death Star. The Corvus, Black Star. So it has like the two separate hangars for troops, and kind of that look, kind of like the Custodes USS Defiant that's kind of being released. Like the ship that came out.
Oh, I think it's so beautiful.
But it's going to be huge. And like I said, if there is a Forge World Primaris, that's kind of what's going to be there.
Oh, I can see that.
But the other thing that's going to be like, guys, your Space Marines aren't going away. They're not being replaced with Primaris. Is that, this is it. That's not enough for a complete army. You can run Soul Primaris, sure. But if you look at that Space Marine Codex, you got like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... 13, 12 entries for different Primaris things, and 8,000 different options for regular Space Marines.
Oh yeah, and of those, what do you say, 6 or 8 listings? Like it's
how
many listings is it? Yeah, like half of them are characters.
Yeah,
over half maybe.
Yeah, so yeah, we have like 5 characters, 5 characters, 5 units, 2 vehicles. If we're counting a Dreadnought as a vehicle.
Oh, okay.
So it's like it's necessary. I mean, Games Workshop's kind of in conclusion, I guess, to talk about and sum it up. As a model company, they need you to buy models. One of the reasons Warhammer Fantasy died was new rules would come out and be like, sweet, gonna use all my old models.
Yeah. Right.
If people don't buy new stuff, then nothing's gonna happen. So that's why things like Centurions came out. Like the Stormhawk, or kind of the Flyers and kind of things like that, is because we need to continue to support the company beyond buying a $100 book once every 4 years.
That makes sense.
So there had to be some advancement, and there's only so much that can be done with the existing Space Marine range. Beyond it's a squad with heavy weapons. Shit, we already did that. It's a squad with jump packs. Oh shit, we already did that.
Yeah, you could update it, but we all have those friends that like still have the original Rhino.
Right.
Have like 12 of them. They're not going to upgrade to the new Rhino.
Yeah, you can update, and there's people who just won't upgrade. But with these guys here, you at least have distinctly different but the same. And I think that's the benefit. Is like when I put Primaris in my army, it's uniquely Space Marine. And you can tell right away that these guys are all the same thing, but they're different enough that I can't just be like, yeah, that's just a Devastator squad. Yeah. So I think it's a really good addition, and to the fluff as well. Because you got to look at it. If you look at the galaxy right now, in the storyline, the 13th Black Crusade was very successful so far. The Eye of Terror is now a tiny little dot on the map of chaos and the way chaos is spread across the galaxy, and it's humanity's darkest hour. So, of course, if you had the existing troops of the Space Marines and the Imperial Guard who are unable to deal with the threat, and they got everyone there, you're going to have to add something new.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to be like, well, they're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
And it can't just be, Steve got a new gun. It's got to be like, this is Steve's uncle Chad. And, Chad is here to help out. So that's kind of how that is.
I mean, I like that we are adding options, and I think in the end, it's an option. You don't have to take it. You can if you want. But I think that everybody wants options. Up until you have options, everybody wants options. In the end, we're all afraid of change. I think it's intrinsic to the human condition is we want stability, right? But yeah, we want options. We want to be able to take a brand new tank. We get a brand new tank, and we're going to complain that it's not the old tank, but it's a brand new tank, and old tank, new tank, intrinsically different.
Well, what else could they have done? Be like, okay, this is a Land Raider, but now it has a big gun on top. Yeah. Be like, well, that's just a Land Raider kit. What the hell are you doing? And so you're like, okay, well, this is a repulsor. Well, what the hell, man? That's new. So yeah, I love the range and kind of the subtle updates
Yeah.
I'm gonna call. I said it's not going to invalidate, years of people's armies, but it's new enough that oh man, I gotta have that.
I can't wait to see what they do with the orcs. Oh, really excited, especially like all the Death Guard yumminess that's coming out.
Oh man, yeah, Mortarion looks rad.
Yeah, those like Cataphracti Terminator guys, those big siege tanks. Like, that's gonna be a whole new army.
Another whole new army coming out.
Oh.
And then after that, back to the old guys, back to Admech.
That's right.
But
so, Chaos didn't really get anything new though in the new book, right?
In the main Chaos book, no.
So,
but
no new kits.
The Death Guard.
The Death Guard will be their own thing. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of new stuff. Like I said, we with the Death Guard and then Primaris, 2 entire new ranges. So I think things like Grey Knights aren't really going to see much. I think Admech will maybe get Call available separately, not as part of the triumvirate.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
But aside from that, it's like, let's focus on getting the new cool stuff out. Get everything out in plastic.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that's Primaris.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a huge amount out there on them, but it's like, man, don't fear the Reaper. They're cool. They're unique. They're, I guess, uniquely same. I guess would be the way that I could best describe them.
Sure.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
We're sweet. We're gonna take a quick break.
Yeah,
we'll come on back.
All right.
Soy, because milk is murder. Oh man, we're back. We just had like a very thrilling discussion. We probably should have recorded.
I know.
40% of.
Thinking that earlier, like, god damn it, because it was the whole like hobby aspect, like how we prioritize our hobbies.
Well, man, let's go back over it then real quick.
We were less enthusiasm because
we were kind of talking like about like I was kind of talking to you about my feelings as a painter, where like I feel it's the eternal struggle between painting to the best of your ability. And actually having everything painted.
Yeah.
Whereas I know I can paint better than how my Imperial fists look. But if I was to paint at that level for every model, then I wouldn't have like a tenth of the models painted that I do.
Yeah. You have your 1850 list.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It would have like my 1850 list and like 3 models would be painted.
Remember back in the day when people did that? Like you put together like your army and it was your 1850 list and then like that's all you had. Like you might have a couple options later on, but like it's bizarre like being adults now where we can just like buy all this erroneous like I was actually calculating in my head like how many thousands of dollars worth of boxes that I have either in shrink wrap or I just took the shrink wrap off. And then I started to try to calculate how many I had taken out of the package, clipped off the sprue, and then condensed into a box of just Land Raiders. Like, so I remember, like, I started my Imperial Guard army a few years ago, and I was like, "Fuck, I got to start Imperial Guard." So I went to my bits box and I pulled out 9 complete kits worth of bits to make Lehman Russes.
So I think
like how much is that in like real terms? Like $50 a piece, 9 of them. Like that's $450.
Yeah.
Like, adulthood, excess money in no time.
And like that's one of my issues was okay. So like I really started noticing kind of like my painting not going down, but plateauing or kind of being like okay, less quality. When like I was getting my Eldar ready because I'm like okay, I gotta get done, and that's fine. But then, like, I pulled myself in, like, 7 different directions. So, like, I really like my Tyranids, so I was doing my Tyranids. But then I really like my Eldar, so I was doing my Eldar. But then I had Imperial Fists that I wanted to do for 30K. It's like, oh, there's too many things.
Yeah.
There's too many things.
Right.
So, like, just hyper-focusing in. Which is why this year, I literally haven't painted after 8th edition. So, like, from June on, I've not painted anything that is not an Imperial Fist. Because, like I said, I'm trying to...
Yeah, you're fisting into 8th.
Fisting into 8th, because if I don't, then I just end up with 7,000 half-finished projects. Like, I have a Harridan up there I need to strip and paint. Like, I have I have Imperial Guardsmen in a.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I have like 30 Imperial
Did you
Guardsmen.
put any of those together? I remember that was like
I got like one together.
Oh, okay.
Like the rest are in like I have heavy weapons teams, a command squad.
Yeah.
It's the problems of adulting.
Right.
Like when we were kids, like I was talking to the guy I played in the third game. Like he was, just a kid. He's new to play in the game. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, and I got all this, and I bought this for my friend, and he's like, it's not what I want to run, but it's what I have.
Isn't that beautiful?
That's a beautiful time. That's how I used to be. I remember playing like Warhammer Fantasy when Bretonnians first came out.
Oh wow!
Yeah. That's I know back
Date
in like
yourself.
the mid '90s. Dating myself here, but yeah, I really wanted spearmen, like the men at arms spearmen. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't afford them, so I just had the bowmen. And it wasn't the best army. And yeah, the guy at my local Games Workshop store in Aberdeen kicked my ass on Wednesday nights playing fantasy because I was like, I know this isn't an optimized build, but I'm playing what I have. Yeah. Like doing like 1,500 points with the Green Knight, which is like a way too big character. Wow. So he was like, yeah, cannons. Like, oh, okay. Or like, do you remember kind of like looking through like a White Dwarf or like, remember the Citadel catalog from back in the day?
I got a few
and just being like, man, I really wish I could get a steam tank.
Oh, yeah.
But then also realizing it was like a $30-$40 kit.
Oh my lord.
That's like 2 weeks worth of paper money. Holy shit.
Yeah.
But now as an adult, I'm like, I go to my wife and I'm like, hey babe, there's like a Space Marine release. I'm gonna go spend like $150. And she's okay. I'm like,
so just like everything that the 12-year-old John had.
Yeah. It's like so I go and I buy 2 Redemptors. And dude, I'm like the spoiled kid on the playground now because I go and I buy 2 Redemptors. I put them together, and now I'm like, oh man, these don't work as well as I thought. Okay.
Not just make it work.
I'm gonna go buy a Leviathan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so even though I was like, that's my hobby budget now for the month because Primaris were expensive. But yeah, like this freedom is right. I feel it's not really freeing to be able to buy whatever I want because it restricts you because you're like, oh shit, like I have a half assembled repulsor.
Because in the end you have to put it in painted.
Yeah.
I think like I went through, I think we've kind of discussed that. I keep harkening back to all these like past instances. I can't even tell you what episodes they were, so it doesn't do me no good.
Please listen to them all.
and then tell me in the YouTube comments.
Yeah.
But I think, like one of the constant complaints is like, I got all this time I have all this money and I try to buy my way through the hobby. And so like I end up with all these kits, like I said, like all those Lehman Russes that I had no idea what to do with. And like, I think, so I think like recently there has been like, I successfully did a purge like that, mental purge, where it was that I'm going to decide not to buy things unless I am absolutely going to put it together. It is absolutely useful, and so on. And like, I think that for the most part, because I think for a while there, like it was like, ooh, that's new, I'm going to get that. Ooh, that's cool. I would love to have like all those big mech guns that are still in shrink wrap.
Yeah, I have like later. 4 assembled, 1 painted.
Yeah. So now it's like, am I realistically going to put this together? Do I have a project for this? Like the aggressors, I got those. Like, all right, I'm going to do a video. I have a vision for them. I'm going to do it. I bust them out within a few days and done. And I think like that has been really good because I think I was successfully able to convince myself that like, yeah, I might have the money for this. Well, actually I don't because I just bought a house, but I had the money for this. But I think that, it's doing me a disservice because A, I don't have the money after I buy a whole bunch of GW products, and, like B, like my to-do list. I'm running out of room in my closet, John.
Yeah,
room in my
I'm
closet.
with you. I'm with you. Like, I have to add a second shelf in my utility room to hold shit
that you haven't assembled or put together.
I have 2 Imperial Knights on sprue, new in the box.
Yeah, the Renegade box.
The Renegade box that I haven't even freaking touched.
Yeah.
I have 2 boxes in my shed of like 1 for Orcs, 1 for Space Marines.
Oh, jeez.
Like I said in the past episode, I'm not going to remember the number. Listen to them all. My son wanted to assemble models. I had like 3 units of Space Wolves. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I have those. Yeah. And it just, it gets to the point where I'm like, oh.
Yeah, buying that Calth box didn't put itself together, so there's still 1 left in the shrink wrap, 1 out, 1 Prospero in the shrink wrap, 1 out, like, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, like, I did make that decision, like, all right, I'm not gonna, even though I'd love to start AdMech, I'd love to add to that Sisters faction that, like, I got to swap meet, et cetera, but, like, no, just no, Ted, just no.
I know someone who's selling some AdMech, pretty good deal.
I don't need, I have them all. That's the problem. I got that $160 box, the Get Started box, multiple, like, anyway, but I think that has been nice because, like, going to the whole point of it, like, cutting back and deciding that, all right, I'm just going to put this stuff together. I'm just going to paint this stuff has really helped out. Although then I got a house. Now it's like, let's paint the walls instead of the little men. But so I don't know. I think that it is like a conscious decision that we have to make. Is like, where are my priorities? Like, is this really helping me? And I think for a while that really worked until I realized I didn't have any YouTube content. So I started buying stuff to make YouTube content out of it. So
now you have a bunch of assembled things.
Right.
I think where I'm going to go and kind of where I'm at, and I talked about this before about kind of going back and working on stuff, is the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little display board to carry my army.
I miss doing that. We did that like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
We haven't done like display boards in a while.
I'm going to build a little, not as big as the ones we did before.
Oh, okay.
Because my force is like 2,000 points in Dreadnought based.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to build a little display board. And that's kind of to get my little mojo back. Because it's fun and it's creative. You can do this stuff. Then my Leviathan, I'm actually going to YouTube stuff and look up techniques and try out different things.
Cool. Because that's what we discussed off air.
Yeah, we discussed off air, kind of like actively working to improve. Mm-hmm. And I'm going back to how I used to do my Warhammer Fantasy stuff. Yeah. Where I'd have my centerpiece model and then everything to the side. Because like I said, I'm not super happy with how my Chapter Master turned out. Yeah, he's painted. So, whatever. But kind of like going back and doing like little touch-ups and things. So my goal for myself is I'm going to make a display board. And I'm going to... I feel a really good 2,000 point list where, I like lots of dreadnoughts. That's my list. Yeah. So kind of building off that, I can then go back and start touching up my Terminators or kind of doing things like that and kind of working on improving without being like, okay, I need to go get the new hotness. Yeah. Okay, this didn't work. Yeah, I know it's bought like a Leviathan Dreadnought, but it's kind of like, if it's my list and kind of just making sure what I'm doing is interesting and painted. Mm-hmm. The problem I'm feeling I'm going to have now that we're streaming, thinking about doing battle reports and things like that, is one thing I think Phil did really well and successfully was he was varied in what he ran. So
somewhat. So, I was actually about to point out that like he didn't have as much stuff as you and I,
right?
But he did have like he was very deliberate. I think in his purchases, like he really researched. He played a lot of games and he knew exactly what worked and what didn't. And like so, he did have his Deathwing. He did have his like his grav cannons. He did have his las cannons and stuff like that. And he had some variety. And thankfully, he did have an army that was varied. Like I think the Dark Angels are for Space Marines, like they have a lot of options.
What they can do,
You're either really stalwart and like can put out some decent fire and you're going to be around for a little while, or you're highly mobile and get some in your face, or you're just vanilla ass Marines in green armor. So I think that's like it is interesting because I think that he does have fewer units and fewer models than you and I do in his Space Marine force. But I actually really respect that he spent a lot of effort. Yeah, he spent a lot of effort. Everything is painted to the best of his ability. Like when he gets a new unit, he paints it and puts it together, and or he usually puts it together first, and that's it. And there's enough variety to where it keeps him interested, and he plays fuck tons more games than we do. So it's not like he's getting like bored of it necessarily.
And that's something I need to do. It's like more, and that's why I'm happy. Like I started streaming, is just because it's going to force me to play more. Yeah, and kind of embarrass me to paint more and better. I guess that kind of thing is about that accountability there. And yeah, to sum up for me is I need to almost forget about my Tyranids. I need to forget about my Orcs. I need to forget about the Imperial Guard things I have, or the Sisters of Silence that I have semi-assembled, or like all of this other stuff there, and just focus on one thing. Otherwise, I'm going to drive myself insane. Or even forget about my Eldar.
Okay.
Because I'm going to drive myself insane just chasing that dragon of kind of like, ooh, a cool thing. Ooh, a cool thing. Ooh, a cool thing.
Yeah, you're going to have to start a Chaos Army soon. There's cool things coming out.
Actually...
no, John, no.
A couple years ago, when I was just playing my Orcs, I just got back into the hobby. I started looking at maybe like adding some other stuff, and I saw the Heldrake, and I love the Heldrake as a model. So it's a beautiful model. So I picked up a Chaos Space Marine squad.
Oh, did you? Do you still have them?
Can't stand the models.
Oh,
really don't like it. Like I assembled one and painted one, and I'm like, I don't like these guys. So yeah. Long-winded rambling short. Yeah. I guess I just need to stay focused on what it is and kind of again build around an app.
I think that one of the things that you could do, and I think that is also because I think we kind of talked about this off air, was adding like a new tool to your your toolbox.
Yeah.
Which also might help just to like take more of the interest off of buying and assembling and creating versus like perfecting your painting. And I know. I was thinking, I think you're talking about going to Adepticon next year, right?
I got to go to Scotland next year.
Oh, what's going on in Scotland?
My family is there, and I've not been home in 13 years.
Oh,
so I probably should.
They'll forgive you. 2019.
2019.
The family tour.
It's like, I know parents, I've been saying next year for the last 4 years.
Well, okay, so, but maybe, if are you going to do LVO, you think?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, so I mean that's how.
Wow,
I'm like,
are you gonna do any cons? You think?
I'm not doing any cons next year.
Oh, bummer.
I'm gonna go home for a couple of weeks, and I'm gonna.
When are you gonna
go? July during the summertime.
During Games Day.
I was like, I'm gonna go to Warhammer World regardless. Like I already told my wife, and I'm like, we're gonna go over for a couple of weeks, but I will spend at least a day.
Well, I know that we're, there's talk of like bringing a painting company up here. So I think but for me, I think going. I think we kind of talked about like stagnating in our hobby, and also just like trying to push ourselves and like try to come up with like new techniques. Like, all right, I'm going to adopt this one technique and so on, and that might also like help refresh the love of painting and stuff like that.
It's like
taking classes was really phenomenal for me.
I used to wet blend.
Oh, really?
I used to.
Okay,
like with my orcs, like my orc characters. Like I used to wet blend. I used to like do all this other stuff. And now it's like a production line of dry brushing Marines.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just like, I just need to, I don't know, get back on the wagon.
Yeah.
It's like alcoholism, like I've fallen off to to making just get it fucking done. That's,
Do you watch a lot of YouTube? Because I know you move a lot, and us people who have a desk job, it's really easy.
I do not watch a lot of YouTube.
Oh, okay.
I watch some, but like I have a non-desk job.
Oh, okay.
So
I know, like you're checking out. Was it a Painted? He hasn't done any videos in a a while, but he was this. If he's Russian or Ukrainian, but he was really good. Like some of his techniques were like, I think like the ways he did like power armor and like power swords and stuff like that was really innovative. But it was kind of like that kind of excited me to try different techniques, and I tried a couple of things that he did. And anyway, so just hitting up some of that. Might be, reinvigorate your painting skills. Like wet blend, I miss you. I'm gonna go down on you.
Pretty much. So it's gonna be John's journey back on the wagon.
Yay! It'll be exciting.
Yay!
He'll have to post pictures so you feel like obligated to improve.
Nah.
All right,
I think we're good. That impromptu little segment right there. It's
there you go. It's a freebie.
It's a
we
freebie.
Won't charge you.
Boom.
There you go.
Boom. About kind of what we've been up to, because I have been painting more recently, so I mean that's good. At least I'm doing it, getting back in routine of doing it. I just need to do it right. So
Cool. Well, I think next episode we may or may not have Phil. Hopefully he'll have landed in the
hopefully
state of Georgia.
He'll have made it down to, is it Georgia? Oh yeah, Atlanta. I don't know American stuff.
Savannah.
So hopefully we'll get Phil back on there. Tales from the road. Maybe we can make fun of his southern accent, even though he clearly won't have one.
Or a Canadian accent by that point.
Canadian. And then I'm sure.
I just bought a brand new Space Marine unit. It was 24 loonies. What the fuck's a loony?
Oh man, you should see this new Primaris. It was 85 Kasquatchwas. It's not a thing.
Yeah, I loved it. I think like the last time I drove down the last time I drove down the Yukon, I brought a friend of mine from because I used to live in the Yukon for a few years, and like I brought my buddy from Portland to drive down with me, and like we hit the first gas station, and first off they're doing like charging us in liters, and it's Canadian, and we go, and it's one of those like the old style like chunk like analog.
Like, why won't you stop?
Machines. And so we do that, and it's like 1950s technology. We go into the office, and the guy's like, or we go into the shop to pay for it, and the guy's like in the office, he can kind of see the counter. He's like, how much was it? He's like, 34. Oh, go ahead and just leave the money on the counter. Like, okay. And he's like, we need some change. Like, how much? $2. Like, oh, take 2 loonies off the counter. Like,
okay,
my buddy was like, what the
we're
fuck's
from
a
America.
But I loved it. Like they treated us with like with as much trust as they would treat anybody. or anybody in their family, maybe.
For sure.
You know, so my buddy Matt just like was beside himself. You know, like he came from a state where it's illegal to even pump your own gas.
Oh yeah, dude. Okay, so like true story. When I was down for work for training somewhere in the lower 48, I forget, maybe Oregon or Washington, one of those states that's like that is Oregon. Yeah. So I was there for training, and I would get out my rental car. And like literally almost get pushed out of the way by the gas attendant. So I'm like, the fuck you doing, man? I'm not dumb. I can pump my own gas. Nope, I do. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right.
Weird.
It was so weird. It was like, I was like, are you a slave?
Yeah, exactly.
Gas slave. Gas me up.
He's actually just a junkie. Like, I want to huff this shit.
Oh man, huffing junkies. That's episode 57. Yeah, hopefully next time we're back for Phil.
Yeah.
If not, shit, we'll do something.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, we've been doing it for 2 years. We'll be here again in 2 weeks. Follow us on Twitter at BC4D, at Mob Rules John. Watch us on YouTube. YouTube.com.
Yeah, it's been growing. Like there's been a decent amount of a community bubbling up, and it's not just salty comments anymore.
We reply to all comments with kind of a modicum of niceness. I've been doing okay putting those battle reports up, but Dad has a fantastic tutorial that went up 2 days ago, on fur.
Green stuff.
Green stuff fur,
Super easy,
and it looked really, really good when you're done. And then also this week's model unboxing was a...
Oh, what did we do? I think it did the aggressor, right?
Yeah, aggressor unboxing. So you can see like next. A vanilla sprue.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what's coming up next.
Oh, I don't even know.
I don't know. Let's see. And
maybe you're a Leviathan.
Maybe my Leviathan. Or a display board.
Okay.
I think I want to put up something about making a display board.
That'd be dope.
So, yeah, super simple thing to do that really adds a whole ton. And it means I can secretly record in stores. I'm like, go buy this.
There you go. Hide in the office and work on your display board. Leave me alone. I'm masturbating.
Like I literally have 14 hours a week I'm meant to spend in the office, and I steal about half of that. So yeah. So for Mob Rules, I've been John.
Hey, John.
Hi.
Right.
He's been Ted.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
See you guys.
And we will see you next time.
This episode of Mob Rules has been brought to you by Mob Rules Media. Please join our Facebook group and be part of the conversation at facebook.com/mobrulesak. You can also email us at themob@tophat-arts.com. Thanks for checking us out, and we will see you in 2 weeks.